Okay, so I'm recording this from the 47th floor of my office building right now. The sun is just coming up over the city, and I'm looking out at this view that 6 months ago I thought I'd never see again. 6 months ago, I was sleeping under a bridge with nothing but the clothes on my back and a phone with 3% battery. And what happened between that bridge and this office, what God showed me in those 6 months, it's going to sound impossible. But I need you to hear this before December 3rd, because I believe some of you are about to lose everything, or maybe you already have. And what I'm about to share could be the difference between staying in that pit and climbing out of it. Let me take you back to the night it all collapsed, March 15th. I was worth $50 million on paper. I had 3 companies, real estate investments, a portfolio that financial advisors called brilliant. I was sitting in my home office, which was bigger than most people's apartments, feeling invincible. Then my phone rang. It was my business partner, and the first words out of his mouth were, "We need to talk now." Within 2 hours, I discovered that he'd been embezzling for 18 months. Within 4 hours, federal agents were at my door. Within a week, everything was frozen, seized, investigated. My accounts, my properties, my reputation gone. But here's what nobody tells you about losing everything. The money disappearing wasn't the worst part. The worst part was discovering that my entire identity was built on wealth. When the money vanished, I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't a successful entrepreneur. I wasn't a respected businessman. I was just a man with nothing, and I realized I had never learned how to be just a man. My wife left within 2 weeks. She said she didn't marry a broke failure, and she wasn't going to stick around to watch me struggle. My friends stopped returning calls. Business associates acted like I didn't exist. It's incredible how fast people disappear when your bank account does. 2 months after that phone call, I was living in my car. 4 months after, the car got repossessed. And that's how I ended up under that bridge, staring at the dirty water below, seriously considering whether life was worth continuing. I had lost everything. Not just money, but identity, purpose, hope. I remember sitting there thinking, Jesus, if you're real, if you actually care, I need you to show up right now, because I've got nothing left. And that's when something happened that I can't explain with logic or reason. I heard a voice, not audible, but so clear it was like someone speaking directly into my soul. And the voice said, "Good, now we can start." I looked around. Nobody was there, just me under a bridge at 2 a.m. But I knew, I absolutely knew, that was Jesus speaking to me. And I had no idea what he meant by "now we can start." Start what? I had nothing to start with. Over the next 6 months, Jesus taught me 7 principles about wealth that completely contradicted everything I thought I knew about money. And here's what's crazy. When I applied these principles, when I actually did what he told me to do, everything changed. Not overnight, not magically, but systematically, supernaturally. I went from homeless to this 47th floor office in 6 months. And I'm not talking about luck or coincidence. I'm talking about divine economics, about kingdom principles that operate on a different system than Wall Street understands. The first principle Jesus taught me was this: you'll never build lasting wealth by chasing money. You build lasting wealth by chasing purpose. Under that bridge, he showed me that I had spent 20 years chasing dollars instead of asking what I was actually supposed to be building. I'd been so focused on becoming rich that I never stopped to ask what I was supposed to be rich for. And that's why it all collapsed. I was building on sand, building on my own ambition instead of on the foundation he wanted to give me. He said, "Ask me what I want you to build, and I'll show you how to fund it." The second principle, the poorest you'll ever be, is when you're holding on to everything yourself. This one destroyed me because it went against every instinct I had. I was homeless. I had nothing. And Jesus told me to start giving. I thought I misheard him, but he was clear. Find someone worse off than you and give them something. I'm sitting under a bridge with $7 to my name, and he wants me to give it away, but I did it. I saw a woman digging through trash for food, and I bought her a meal with my last $7. And I'm not going to tell you that money magically appeared the next day, but something shifted in me. I stopped operating from scarcity and started operating from trust. The third principle hit me like a revelation. Your breakthrough is hidden in someone else's problem. Jesus showed me that I had been so consumed with my own crisis that I couldn't see the opportunities all around me. There were problems everywhere, people struggling, systems broken, needs unmet. And every problem is an invitation to create value. He said, "Stop asking me to solve your problem. Start asking me which problems I want you to solve." That's when everything changed. I started looking for problems I could solve, even with nothing. I helped a shop owner reorganize his inventory system using knowledge I already had. He paid me $200. I used that to help another business owner solve a logistics problem. He paid me $500. Within 3 weeks, I had $4,000. and people were asking for my help. The fourth principle Jesus taught me: the world measures wealth by what you keep. Heaven measures wealth by what you circulate. He showed me that money is like water, it has to flow. When you dam it up, when you hoard it, it stagnates. But when you let it flow through you, when you use it to bless others, it comes back multiplied. I started tithing before I even had a stable income. People thought I was crazy, giving away 10% when I barely had enough to eat. But Jesus said, trust me with the tithe, and watch what I do with the 90%. The fifth principle: your character in poverty determines your capacity in prosperity. This one was brutal. Jesus showed me that the reason I lost everything the first time was because I wasn't ready for it. I had money before I had character. I had success before I had integrity. So he had to strip it all away to rebuild me from the foundation up. The sixth principle Jesus revealed to me changed everything I understood about timing and provision. You're never early or late, you're exactly where I need you to be. I spent months under that bridge thinking I'd wasted my life, that I had missed my chance, that I was too old to start over. But Jesus showed me that the bridge wasn't a detour. It was part of the plan. Everything I lost, I needed to lose. Everyone who left needed to leave. Every door that closed needed to close. Because the version of me that built the first fortune couldn't handle what he was about to do next. He said, I'm not restoring what you lost. I'm building something better than you ever imagined. Here's what happened in month 4. I was doing consulting work, sleeping in a room I rented for $300 a month, slowly building credibility again. A man reached out to me, said he'd heard about my story, about how I lost everything but was helping other businesses succeed. He offered me a partnership in a startup. Not a job, a partnership. Equal equity, no capital required from me, just my knowledge and work. I almost said no because it sounded too good to be true. But I prayed about it, and Jesus said, this is me restoring what the locusts ate. Say yes. That partnership became profitable in 8 weeks. We scaled to 7 figures in 4 months. And here's the supernatural part. The clients we attracted weren't coming because of marketing or connections. They were being sent. Person after person would tell me, I don't know why, but I felt like I was supposed to work with you. That's not business strategy. That's divine favor. That's God moving pieces on a chessboard I can't even see. The seventh principle, and this is the one that will determine whether you stay broke or step into abundance. Jesus doesn't bless greed, but he funds generosity. The more generous I became, the more revenue increased. And I'm not talking about some prosperity gospel nonsense where you give to get. I'm talking about a heart transformation, where you stop seeing money as something to accumulate and start seeing it as something to steward. Jesus showed me that he can trust generous people with wealth, because they won't worship it. They'll deploy it for kingdom purposes. 6 months after sleeping under that bridge, I'm standing in this office on the 47th floor, looking out at a city that once represented my failure, now representing redemption. This building, this company, this restored life, none of it came from my brilliance. It came from obedience to principles that make no earthly sense but make perfect heavenly sense. And if you're in the pit right now, if you've lost everything or you're about to, I need you to hear this. Jesus is not punishing you. He's repositioning you. What looks like an ending is actually a setup for something greater than you lost. So here's why I'm sharing this now and why December 3rd matters. I believe we're entering a season of massive wealth transfer, not from the rich to the poor in some socialist redistribution, but from those who operate by worldly principles to those who operate by kingdom principles. Jesus is about to shake economic systems. And in that shaking, some people will lose everything while others will gain everything. And the difference won't be talent or education or connections. It will be whether you know how to operate by his principles or not. If you're watching this before December 3rd, I don't think it's coincidence. I think Jesus is preparing you for something that's coming. Maybe you're about to lose something. Maybe you've already lost it. Maybe you're terrified of losing it. Whatever your situation, you need to hear this. Loss is not the end. Loss is often the prerequisite for promotion. Jesus can't give you what he wants to give you until you let go of what you're clutching. And sometimes he has to pry your fingers open. Here's what I want you to do right now. Stop building on your own wisdom. Stop chasing wealth for wealth's sake. Stop measuring success by worldly metrics. Instead, ask Jesus one question. What do you want me to build? And then listen. Really listen. Because his answer might not make sense. It might sound impossible. It might require you to do things that seem financially irresponsible. But if you obey, if you actually do what he tells you to do, you'll discover that he's a better financial advisor than anyone on Wall Street. Start giving before it makes sense. Find someone to bless even when you feel like you have nothing. Solve someone else's problem instead of obsessing over your own. Tithe before you can afford it. Build character in the dark so Jesus can trust you with resources in the light. And most importantly, surrender control. Stop trying to be the CEO of your own life and let Jesus take that position. Because here's what I learned under that bridge. The moment you truly surrender everything to Him is the moment He can give you more than you ever had. Let me pray for everyone watching this, especially those who are in financial crisis right now, who've lost everything, or afraid they're about to. Jesus, thank you for being a God who meets us in the pit. Thank you for loving us enough to let us lose what we were never supposed to have in the first place. For everyone watching this who's in financial devastation right now, I pray that you would speak to them the way you spoke to me under that bridge. Show them that this isn't the end, it's the beginning. Teach them your principles for wealth that the world doesn't understand. Give them the courage to obey even when it doesn't make logical sense. Bring them the divine connections, the supernatural opportunities, the kingdom partnerships that only you can orchestrate. And Jesus, for those who haven't lost everything yet but are terrified they will, give them wisdom to surrender it all to you now, before you have to take it. Help them to hold everything with open hands, to see wealth as a tool for your purposes, not a source of security. Protect them in the coming shaking. Position them for the wealth transfer that's about to happen. And help all of us to remember that you're not just a God who restores, you're a God who upgrades. In Jesus' name, Amen. Thank you for watching this from the 47th floor. 6 months ago, I was at the bottom. Today I'm here, not because I'm smart, but because I'm obedient. And if I can go from a bridge to this office in 6 months by following Jesus' principles, you can too. Don't give up before December 3rd. Don't give up before you see what Jesus is about to do with your story.